2018 is well underway at this point, and there's no shortage of new game announcements to get us excited for the games coming in the months ahead. Nevertheless, most of us, myself included, only have so much time, money, and attention that we can devote to this hobby in any given year. So I've gone ahead and put together a list of my top 10 most anticipated games that are scheduled to release in 2018 as of the making of this video. Although it's safe to say that a good number of these games may be released later than expected or even delayed into 2019, this list represents the stuff that I'm most eager to get my hands on. The reasons behind my interest in these particular games varies from title to title. In some cases, it's because I've played multiple games in the same franchise and I'm eager for more, and others are brand new IP that simply caught my eye. It's well understood today, too, that lots of games come out mere months after their initial announcement, so I have no doubt that there will be other experiences coming out this year that, frankly, we don't even know about at this point. Finally, I'm also excluding games that have been announced but for which the developer or publisher has not yet shared a release date. Thankfully, there are plenty of great looking games to fill in those gaps, so let's take a look at the 10 games of 2018 that I can't wait to play. Far Cry 5 is the next numbered entry in the Far Cry series, the first one since 2016's prehistoric Far Cry Primal, and, as you can see, it brings the setting back to modernity. The story takes place in a fictional part of Montana that's rife with conflict, because it's basically been taken over by a cult called Eden's Gate. You'll play as a sheriff's deputy who's been sent in to arrest the cult leader, and will be able to enjoy the gameplay variety offered by past Far Cry games to take care of business. An open world with varied terrain, endless stocks of weapons, wild animals you can tame, and, of course, tight first-person combat. The game's setting and portrayal of the fictional people within it was immediately met with both praise and criticism by the gaming community, so it'll be interesting to see how things pan out once it's released to the public. Either way, it's time to get excited for a trip to Montana. When I first saw gameplay footage of this next game after stumbling across a trailer on Steam sometime last year, I think my lower jaw must have hit the floor. I quickly pulled up the YouTube trailer on my phone so I could share it with friends, because the game world presented by this game, Agony, looked absolutely nightmarish. It made sense because, as you can see, this game takes place in hell, where you play as a martyr who has to explore the environment to solve puzzles, collect statues and paintings, and, of course, not get destroyed by other demons. The limited field of view that's veiled in darkness, the abundance of bones and surreal body horror, and the grotesque creatures of the underworld create a sense of dread, just from a trailer, mind you, that I don't think I'd felt since playing the never-finished Silent Hills demo from 2014, PT. Suffice it to say, this is one game that horror fans like me cannot wait to play. Kratos, the angriest man in the ancient Mediterranean, is back this year with an all-new, eponymous entry in the greater God of War franchise that looks fresher than ever. This God of War is the sequel to 2010's God of War 3, and the first new story in the series since Ascension in 2013. It looks like a lot has happened since we last battled with the Ghost of Sparta. Kratos has now entered the realm of Norse mythology and must train, lead, and protect his son Atreus from the hazards of Scandinavia. As one would expect, Kratos is going to butcher chariot loads of monsters and be treated to beautiful scenery in classic God of War fashion, but the gameplay has clearly been overhauled too, and has shifted into a noticeably more modern format. For my part, I'm ready to take up that magical battle axe and start chopping. Post-apocalyptic game worlds caught somewhere between horrific decay and natural beauty are pretty popular these days, but Days Gone has caught the attention of the gaming community for a number of reasons. This title is being developed by Sony Bend, which has a strong pedigree in the Siphon Filter series of the 2000s, but also created the excellent Uncharted Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita. Days Gone will clearly be an ambitious title as a cinematic open-world game with both human and formerly human enemies to deal with, the latter of which can attack you in enormous, ravenous swarms that look seriously difficult to escape. But it seems like it will also have compelling emotional elements and a lively sense of adventure, supported by the freedom to cruise around the landscape on your motorcycle. Zombie games have been around a very long time, and they have to do more than ever to stand out on the shelf nowadays, but Days Gone looks like it just might have the guts to do it. Later this year, we'll find out. As kids, it seems like we shared a unifying question we would ask and be asked by others all the time. What is your favorite dinosaur? It's too soon to be sure, but it looks like Jurassic World Evolution is trying to give us some modern tools to explore that very question and its possible answers like never before. The idea of a Jurassic Park business simulation has definitely been explored in the past, but Evolution wants to evolve. The game is set on Isla Nublar, where the original Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies took place, but apparently will also include other nearby locations for players to manage. I don't know for sure if it's my lifelong love of dinosaurs or the fact that I sadly haven't played a sim game in more than 5 years, but I'm looking forward to having my very own rampaging, murderous Tyrannosaur real soon. Have you ever wanted to feel like you're confused and lost on a creepy, half-living, half-robotic planet? Ever wanted to become a semi-skinless humanoid wandering around in a maze that's occupied by insectoid, penguin-looking things? Look no further than Scorn! Seriously though, this game looks fascinating, scary, and like it could be a lot of fun. It's being created by Ebb Software, which is comprised of a pretty small team of full-time developers and freelance artists who clearly love the work of H.R. Geiger. At the moment, the game is slated to release in 2 parts and will be available through Steam and Humble Bundle, the latter of which is also serving as the game's publisher. If you're a fan of first-person shooter sci-fi horror games, this looks to be one to check out later this year. I haven't played a SpiderMan game, really of any sort, since the 2 movie tie-ins from the early and mid-2000s. So I have no hesitation when I say that I'm ready for a new adventure with the web-slinger. On that note, it truly is a new adventure. Insomniac Games, who has never developed a licensed video game until now, is working with a team of writers that includes veteran Spider-Man storytellers Christos Gage and Dan Slott to craft an all-new story for this title. Sure, the graphics look incredible, and the prospect of freely swinging all over New York City with the speed and strength of Spider-Man is exciting, but that gameplay... Look at that gameplay! More than a decade may have passed since I picked up my GameCube controller to play one of the Tobey Maguire-era Spider-Man games, but I have a hunch that this new one will inject me with that unique sense of freedom and wonderment I enjoyed so much back then. The hardcore purists of internet lists might cry foul over my inclusion of this game in this video, but I don't care. I'm excited to play the System Shock remake. I never played the original System Shock, so when I learned that Night Dive Studios was building an overhauled, faithful reboot of the game that inspired my beloved BioShock, I was sold. This new System Shock will boast all new visuals, is built on Unreal Engine 4, offers reworked level designs, and will fix plot and dialogue issues that bothered players in the past. I'm not certain yet whether I'll play this game on PC or on my PS4, but the level of care and passion that the dev team seems to have taken every step of the way since they first acquired the rights to this franchise suggests that it will be a great experience either way. The next game is easily the most cheerful and colorful title I've included, and it's the only one coming out for a system I don't yet own. This working title Yoshi game follows the formula first introduced by Yoshi's Island on the Super Nintendo back in 1995, but it touts a charming 3D graphical style that looks like it's assembled from paper cutouts. This paper world approach seems a lot like the Paper Mario games, and a key aspect of this Yoshi adventure even includes the perspective shifting flips required in Paper Mario to see behind objects to reveal secrets. As an eternal fan of and advocate for couch co-op gameplay, I'm encouraged to see that the game will reportedly have a 2-player mode for a couple of people to take their own Yoshis throughout the game. Admittedly, I haven't yet played any of the newer Yoshi-centric games on 3DS or Wii U, so I've lately been a bit out of touch with my egg-chucking saddled dinosaur side, but I think this new entry looks promising enough to make this the year I take Yoshi for another ride. I think I first learned about Vampire, the next game from Don't Nod Entertainment, while reading an issue of Game Informer sometime last year. I remember thinking that the early 20th century setting, moody gothic atmosphere, and general premise of playing as a doctor who becomes a vampire sounded pretty cool, but then I realized that I hadn't really played as a vampire in a video game since I finished the Dawnguard DLC for Skyrim, and I knew that I needed to keep an eye on this one. The RPG components of this game are enticing, and I'm looking forward to learning more about the game's lore. Apparently, many of your enemies are other types of vampires, ranging from well-to-do aristocratic bloodsuckers to nightmarish subterranean creatures. The combat and weapon options seem promising too, so I'm optimistic that Vampire will make for a satisfying plunge into the macabre for horror fans this year. Well, my friends, that was my list of games that I'm most pumped about for 2018 so far, and I'm sure there's at least 1 or 2 on here that you're excited about as well. So I'd love to know what games make the list of titles that you're most anticipating for this year. Let me know in the comments how you're feeling about 2018's current video game lineup, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and check out my playlist of other quick top 5 and top 10 videos on my channel. Thanks for hanging out at CrossChop today, thank you so much for subscribing, and as always, play heavy.